So today we're going to look at a quiet revolution in education, and we're going to do it by looking inside a single high school textbook. Now, I know that might not sound super exciting, but trust me, this book is way more than just paper and ink. It's actually a blueprint for a totally new way of thinking about learning in India. But before we dive in, let's just step back for a second and ask a really basic question. What is a textbook for? I mean, really, is it just a collection of facts you're supposed to memorize for a test? Or could it be something more? Maybe a tool that actually sparks curiosity? Well, the people who made this book had a pretty radical answer. This one phrase right here from India's National Curriculum Framework, it's basically a declaration of war on the old way of doing things. You see, this isn't just about a new textbook. It's a conscious decision to make a clean break from the past, to leave behind the legacy of bookish learning. Okay, so to really get why this new approach is such a big deal, we have to understand the problem it was trying to solve. What exactly was so wrong with the old way of learning anyway? Well, the old system had some pretty deep-seated issues. For starters, it was all about rote memorization, not real understanding. Subjects were kept in their own little boxes, totally disconnected from each other, and, even worse, from a kid's actual life. The textbook was treated like it was the only source of truth, which, let's be honest, can turn learning from an adventure into a stressful, boring chore. This chart really nails the huge shift in thinking. The whole goal was to change students from being these passive buckets waiting for knowledge to be poured in to being active participants in their own education. It's about swapping out that isolated, bookish learning for hands-on experience that actually connects the classroom to the real world. And the ultimate goal? Not just memorizing facts, but developing genuine critical thinking. So what did this new philosophy actually look like? This wasn't just about a few small changes. We're talking about completely rebuilding the whole foundation of what it means to learn. The entire new approach was built on this one simple, but honestly pretty profound idea from the National Curriculum Framework. Life at school has to be connected to life outside of school. That single idea is like the DNA for everything that follows. It means education has to be relevant, it has to be tangible, and it has to connect to the student's day-to-day reality. And this quote, this really gets to the heart of it all. It totally reframes the student. They're not just a consumer of information anymore. They're an active creator of knowledge. The idea is simple. If you give kids the space, the time, and the freedom, they won't just absorb facts. They'll start to ask questions, to create, and to build their very own understanding of the world. So, what does this child-centered system actually do? Well, it's all about encouraging students to think about how they learn, to ask those big, imaginative questions, and to spend time both thinking quietly and having lively debates. It's a system designed to spark creativity and, maybe most importantly, to make school a place of joyful discovery. All right, so that's the big, grand idea. Now let's see how this all plays out in the real world with our textbook, which is all about teaching economics for the real world. And here it is. This is the textbook for Class XI on Indian economic development. It might look like any other book on the shelf, but it was designed from the ground up to be a tool for this new, active learning philosophy. This is our case study in action. See, this book's mission isn't just to throw a bunch of abstract economic theories at you. It's designed to get students face-to-face with the real issues the Indian economy is dealing with. The idea is to empower them to be able to critically look at the role of the government and other big players. The goal is to create informed, engaged young citizens. And this brings us to maybe the most radical part of the whole thing, how the learning actually happens. Because I can tell you, it definitely does not stay inside the covers of this book. The whole process is pretty incredible, really. Right from day one, students become these curators of what's happening in the world, collecting news clippings about the economy all year long. And these clippings aren't just for a scrapbook, they become the fuel for classroom debates. From there, students learn to dig into official government data themselves. The end game isn't about passing a test, it's about developing the lifelong skill of being able to understand and interpret complex economic events as they unfold in real time. And this, of course, completely flips the teacher's role on its head. They go from being the sage on the stage, just lecturing from the front of the room, to being a guide on the side. Their job is now to facilitate discussions, to ask good questions, and to help students find their way through all this complex real-world information. So, under this model, the textbook is no longer the final word, it's just a starting point. Students are pushed to pull from all over the place: newspapers, TV news, official government reports, even academic articles. The classroom basically expands to include the entire world of information. So let's zoom out one last time. What's the end game here? What is the whole point of all this? What kind of person is this whole educational philosophy trying to create? It all comes down to this: the single most important skill they can learn. In a world that is just flooded with information and opinions, this approach gives students the tools to sift through all that noise. They learn how to critically evaluate what they see in the news, how to interpret complicated data, and how to form their own informed opinions, a skill that's vital for life, not just for an exam. Because really, the end game isn't just about creating better students, it's about building better citizens. You look at India's constitution, it promises these huge ideas: justice, liberty, equality. And those things can only really be achieved if the public is informed, engaged, and capable of critical thought. So this textbook, then, is more than just an educational tool. It's a small but powerful instrument for empowering the next generation to fulfill the promise of their democracy. And that really brings us to a final thought, a question for you. When you see an approach like this, so vibrant, so connected to the real world, so empowering, for a subject like economics, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What could your own education have been like? If this is how economics can be taught, what should your history textbook have been? Or your science book? Or your literature class? Something to think about.